with Nicola Sturgeon pushing for a referendum as soon as next year. A new poll has suggested support for Scottish independence has surged to 56%. However, critics have today lambasted an SNP plan for a tax-free £500 coronavirus bonus for NHS and care staff, with the Fraser of Allender Institute's think tank dismissing it as a political gimmick which would reward the rich more than the poor. Meanwhile, Scottish Liberal Democrat leader Willie Rennie accusing the First Minister of using NHS staff as a battering ram on the Constitution, pointing to the think tank's estimate that the First Minister's government was sitting on £1 billion in unallocated cash. The Ipsos Mori poll was based on interviews with 1,000 Scottish adults aged 16 and over between November 20 and 26. It suggests if there was a second independence referendum tomorrow, 56% would vote yes, compared with 44% who would vote no, a resounding 12-point lead. With the Holyrood elections being held next May, the SNP is on 55%, down 3 points compared with early October, while the Tories are on 22%, up 3, Labour is on 14%, up 1, and the Liberal Democrats are on 6 points, up 2. Mrs. Sturgeon announced the one-off thank you payment in her speech to her party's annual conference yesterday. The £180 million plan will reward more than 300,000 staff, including nurses and doctors. During her speech, Mrs. Sturgeon also issued a plea to Prime Minister Boris Johnson to make the bonus tax exempt, although the idea was swiftly rejected by the Treasury. A Fraser of Allender Institute spokesman subsequently said, exempting any bonuses from tax is not widely regarded as a good use of tax policy. There's a reason bonuses are taxed. If they weren't, everyone would want paid in bonuses rather than regular pay. Making an exception to the rule once opens the possibility of endless future lobbying for tax exempt bonuses, which is not something any government should be keen to encourage. The Institute suggested the inevitable rejection of Mrs. Sturgeon's plea served up exactly what the Scottish government had really wanted. Another example of the devolved fiscal framework apparently not working. In a blog post, Fraser of Allender Institute's director Graham Roy and Scottish budget expert David Iser added, exempting the bonus from tax would gift higher rate taxpayers a significantly larger tax break than basic rate taxpayers. It is really not clear what the rationale for this would be. It is perfectly legitimate, and indeed desirable, to want to recognize and reward NHS care workers for their efforts in recent months. But if policymakers want those employees to benefit by £500 after tax, the solution is to pay a higher gross bonus. Mr. Rennie said, SNP ministers should show more respect to NHS and care workers. They should get them the money they believe should be paid and not use them as a battering ram on the Constitution. The Fraser of Allender Institute estimated last week that the SNP has £1 billion unallocated. It is important for Scottish ministers to set out quickly which other sectors they will support using that money. Scottish Tory leader Douglas Ross added, the SNP have all the funding and powers they need to top up this payment today. Any extra income tax would go to the Scottish, not the UK government. So if they increase it, no one misses out. Why is it that the SNP feel the need to take a £500 NHS thank you payment and stoke up division with such a clearly political move? All to provoke a fight with the UK government. Labour MSP Jackie Bailey said, frontline health and care workers are not political footballs for the SNP and Tories to score cheap points with. The payment announced is welcome, but it is clear that the SNP could not resist another constitutional row rather than simply helping working people. The Scottish government can gross up the payment if it wishes to, it should just get on with it. Meanwhile, with respect to the poll, Emily Gray, managing director of Ipsos Mori Scotland, said, our latest polling results are clearly very favourable for the SNP, with support both for the party and for an independent Scotland remaining high. The party's record on key issues such as the economy, education and public services has been much criticised by the Conservatives in recent months. However, those messages do not appear to be cutting through with Scottish voters, who trust the SNP much more on the economy, education and the NHS than they do any other political party. A spokesman for the Scottish Conservatives said, this poll shows yet again that only the Scottish Conservatives have the strength and determination to stand up to the SNP. While the SNP focus on dividing the country all over again with their push for a second independence referendum as early as next year, The Scottish Conservatives' priorities are rebuilding Scotland's economy, fighting the pandemic, protecting jobs, improving schools, and restoring power to local communities, SNP MSP Tom Arthur said. It is the SNP who are giving health and care workers in Scotland a thank you bonus so far unmatched anywhere else in the UK, and it is Boris Johnson who is outrageously threatening to snatch as much of it as he can away from them in tax. Instead of defending the indefensible, the Scottish Tories should be trying to use whatever dwindling influence they think they have on the Prime Minister to tell him to do the right thing. While income tax is devolved, the tax on this bonus wouldn't be paid back to Scotland until 2023 to 2024, and national insurance contributions would just be swallowed by the Tory Treasury and would never come back to Scotland.